Good morning, everybody. It's another beautiful day in the bull market. Yes, we are still in a bull market. Bitcoin crossing $88,000 this morning. Crypto wins. How you doing? Great to have you. Come on in, guys. We're starting to see some signs of life in this market after some crazy boring zone. Lots of fear from the tariffs and much more. Starting to see some life. As I've been saying, markets will price the tariffs in eventually and will start rallying because people are just going to be stuck. They don't know, there's only so much they can sell. And eventually the initial shock of the tariffs and the fear of the tariffs are going to dissipate. This is what we've seen historically. Crypto Rafi, welcome in. Great to have you from Netherlands. David R. Morla, welcome in. Guys, I apologize ahead of time for my voice because I have the seasonal allergies. They're hitting me pretty hard and dealing with some congestion, but I'm going to be all right. I got my tea and coffee. Well, no, coffee. So I should be okay. We got lots to talk about, guys. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button on the way in. Hit the subscribe if you haven't as yet. Hit the heart button wherever you're watching or listening, guys. We're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X.com, of course, Instagram, Rumble, Kick.com as well. Steady Bull, welcome in. We got Stephen Turner from the UK. Welcome in. Jorge Valadez, good morning. Great to have you guys. Welcome in. Things are looking better in the crypto market. So we got lots to talk about. There's some bullish news as well. Guys, once again, hit that thumbs up button, the subscribe button if you haven't as yet. So guys, Bitcoin making a move. We know Bitcoin leads the market. When Bitcoin is pumping, the altcoins follow. When Bitcoin's dumping, the altcoins follow. I don't make the rules. Those are just the facts. And it's how the market has played out. It can change over time, but as of now, Bitcoin is the leader in the market, where we often see rotation of capital from Bitcoin to altcoins. So if any of you are expecting some sort of alt season, you need to see Bitcoin have a lot of strength, hit new all-time highs, and then liquidity flow from Bitcoin. Once it becomes overbought, it flows to the altcoins. And we are still seeing some level of fear in the market. People are still worried about the tariffs and what happened over the past 2 to 3 months, guys, with the market taking a massive correction. But overall, you look at where Bitcoin's at, it has held up pretty well. Even the market cap, we were over $3 trillion in Q4. Now we're at $2.76 trillion, not far from where we were at in Q4. So it's not like the entire market has crumbled and everything's back down to 2022 prices, right? Obviously not. I mean, when in doubt, zoom out. You look at the charts here, you look at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, we are still way above the bottoms of the 2022 market. Now we're using Bitcoin as the measuring stick. I know some alts haven't caught up yet, but overall, Bitcoin still in a bull market. And the signs of strength and life we're seeing here, if we look at the daily chart, Bitcoin about to break through the 200-day moving average. For those of you who've been following the newsletter and the podcast, when we are definitively over that moving average, guys, and you look at it, simple pattern recognition here, we are in a bull market. When we are definitively below it, we are in a bear market like we saw in 2022. So Bitcoin has been knocking at the door of a bear market, but it is not in a bear market, and it's showing strength. It's showing a bounce, a move to get back above. Now, if you look at last summer, when we had the Japanese yen carry trade situation, Bitcoin went below the 200-day moving average. It peaked above it slightly and then went back below and did that a couple times before it found strength in Q3 and then a massive Q4 rally. So don't be caught off guard if Bitcoin does the same thing. Maybe not as extensive because the summer months are usually weak for markets, right? Sell-in may go away. But we are seasonality wise, in the midst of Q2, and we could see some strength in Q2, seasonality wise for bull markets, has been really great. Now the tariffs, they really are a macro pseudo black swan, because they put a lot of uncertainty in the markets globally. It's not just a specific country. This has been really rough for the markets. But as I've been saying, eventually the markets will price this in and start moving, because the initial shock, the fear, will start to dissipate. People are just going to be like, okay, we already know what's going on, so we're not going to be caught by surprise. And if the markets themselves start to show some signs of strength, people are going to start to turn bullish again. Now, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 1 month. So we could see still a bit more chop before Bitcoin definitively says, hey, this is it. Time for the next rally. Now, I know some people are going to say bull trap, bull trap, bull trap. Well, we have to wait and see. I can't say definitively this is a bull trap, and I can't say definitively this is the breakout rally to new all-time highs, but I can use the data I have today and say, hey, these are positive signs. Very, very good. This is what we would want to see if we were looking for a recovery. And I believe we are still in a bull market. I'm going to share my different facts and data points, not feelings, so you guys can see what I'm looking at. But this is very good, guys. Very, very good that Bitcoin is doing this. Don't be surprised this week Bitcoin hits 90,000, and then, you know, maybe comes back down below the 200-day moving average like it did last summer now, right? A lot of retesting here before it heads up. But I am seeing higher highs and higher lows, stair-stepping its way out of the hole. Once again, using Bitcoin as the measuring stick. Very good sign here. Now, gold has been ripping, guys, and gold is a leading indicator, in my opinion, and we saw it last year, even in the summer months, and when gold is ripping, and then crypto and the stock market followed. So gold is doing really well, and I don't, you know, I have a little bit of gold, but I'm not a big investor in it. I'm just holding it long term. And though some people are saying gold could be headed for a top, because if you look at this move, that looks like a parabolic move to a top. My point is, we are in a macro bull market for all assets, driven by global liquidity, and all of these assets are having their turn, right? Every dog has its day, and we are seeing some. This is a leading indicator. So if gold starts to top out, liquidity can rotate back into the stock market, into Bitcoin and crypto, and so on and so forth. Now, the other factor, which is or one of the reasons why I'm saying we are still in a bull market, look at the dollar, guys, the DXY. When you go back in history, when in doubt, zoom out, we've seen when the dollar is in this type of downtrend, it is a bull market for risk assets. It is not a bear market. When the dollar is strong and showing a parabolic move, it is a bear market for risk assets. So this is a fact. This is data now. This is not emotions or feelings. So this is telling me risk assets, the rotation now, and the inverse correlation, risk assets are going to have to move the opposite direction. And we're starting to see that with Bitcoin, because if you look at the Bitcoin weekly chart, you know, from the higher time frame, that looks bullish, guys. Look at that. And then when you look at the MACD, you see the bears are losing momentum. You can see here with the color codes, right? The darker green shows a lot of strength. The darker red shows a lot of strength. Notice for the red candles, they're going down, right? They're getting smaller and smaller, and they're getting lighter. Bears are losing strength. They're losing momentum here. And I expect this to flip to green. And notice the green candles here. This was in Q4. Notice before that, the red candles, which was the summer, the painful summer, Japanese yen carry trade dump and all that, right? Kind of what we're experiencing here, painful. Well, markets move in cycles. If you just simply look at the pattern recognition here, it will tell you what's happening. And this is the data, okay? So this is very bullish in my opinion. And we've often looked at the RSI for, you know, these different moving average, or I should say time frames. You know, so if we go to the monthly chart does not look bearish in my opinion. It's kind of like what took place in 2022. or 2020 and 2021, excuse me. So it looks like a similar pattern here. And you look at the RSI, the monthly RSI, it has not hit levels that we've seen historically in previous bull markets where things become so heated. I mean, overheated, and there's euphoria and people are excited and bull market will never end. This will keep going higher and higher. We have not hit that yet, guys. So, and overall, from the higher time frame of the monthly, you see here the MACD still shows some strength here for the bulls. Now, you could argue, okay, there's some diminishing strength here, but it is not completely flipped. It has not flipped red, is my point, which is bear market levels. So still looking bullish here. Again, the data, not my feelings or emotions. And what's important is that another indicator is global liquidity, like the global M2, it is breaking out. I mean, we're seeing money printing happening globally. And once again, risk assets follow this. I don't make the rules here, guys. This is just how it works. We've seen it. The data shows us this. Multiple analysts and folks who do a lot of research on this have validated this. So even if you don't take my word for it, if you go research this, you'll see stock market, all of it, gold, all correlated to what's happening with global liquidity. So the more they print, the more asset prices rise. Now, we're also seeing the data from sentiment showing that whales, Bitcoin whales with 10 or more a Bitcoin in their wallet, they continue to accumulate. I was worried back in February into early March that this was it. They were dumping. That was a bad sign. This could be a downtrend that continues like we've seen in previous bear markets, the end of bull markets, but it plateaued and they spiked in accumulation. So whales, the guys who move the markets, they know that higher prices are coming. They're betting that higher prices are coming in, so are going to be coming. So they are accumulating. Great data point here. This is on-chain data. Okay. And if you look at what took place last year with the Bitcoin ETF launch, the buy the rumor, sell the news, look at the dumping that was taking place. Right. But then they started accumulating and they continue to accumulate. Very positive sign. Bitcoin exchange or Bitcoin supply in exchanges continues to decline, meaning the whales are not moving a ton of coins back to sell. So that's a very good sign. We've seen historically, once again, going back to last year with the Bitcoin ETF launch, they moved a ton of coins on the exchange to sell. And that's why it correlates to the dump that you see here, and the low accumulation, right? Just dumping what they accumulated leading up to the buy the rumor, sell the news event. What we also see is that stablecoin liquidity is on the rise. Over the past few days, Tether has minted $2 billion in USDT. I've shared these metrics and points of stablecoins for years with you guys, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen instantaneously, but then you start to see the market move, and you realize where the liquidity is coming from, right? So very good sign here. Macro signals like the Bitcoin Pi cycle top indicator have not flashed, showing the top is in. So even though we have this tariff stuff, it's painful, it's annoying, we're not in that bear market yet, guys. I don't know how many of you were here for 2022, but this does not feel like 2022 with that continual downtrend and things breaking down, and its liquidity is dried up, global liquidity is down to dollars strengthening, right? We have not seen these things before. So, or I should say, we are not seeing these things right now. So very, very good sign. Guys, hit the thumbs up button for the bull market still alive. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the heart button wherever you're watching and listening. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. So really good stuff here. Now, Tom Lee, who's been pretty good with his predictions so far this bull market cycle, but no one can, of course, get everything right. But he talks a bit about what I was just saying, the rotation of liquidity. He says, now that deleveraging is done, excuse me, I think Bitcoin is going to catch up to gold. So what did I say, guys? Gold is a leading indicator right now because we're in a macro bull market for all assets. And that's been going on for the past few years. Some people don't recognize it because they're too caught up in the micro. But when you look at the macro, the stock market, everything has been on the rise. So gold having another run up here after its sell-off. Notice it had its correction here. Not too crazy, nothing like what happened with the stock market, but it is ripping. Now, this type of parabolic move, though, I mean, if you look at this, that looks like it's about to top at some point, and that liquidity is going to rotate into the stock market and crypto, of course. And I believe Bitcoin and altcoins are going to outperform gold and stocks like they have been for years. So it's a patience game here, guys, and it's controlling your emotions. But I like what I'm seeing here. Bitcoin getting it back above that 200-day moving average. We need to have more confirmation, of course. It needs to go up here and show a lot of strength, right? And work its way out. So that's what we're waiting to see, folks. But very, very bullish. Now, huge news coming out from the Wall Street Journal. So Coinbase, Circle, BitGo, Paxos, and other crypto firms plan to apply for bank charters or licenses. So these crypto companies are looking to become banks essentially and offer these type of services. And it makes sense, but you can see why there's been this fight. The Gary Gensler, the Elizabeth Warren, the Jamie Dimons, right? The banking incumbents are getting disrupted because these crypto companies offer better investments. You can get higher yield on your stablecoin supply versus the your cash that's sitting in your savings account. You can move money faster, instantaneously with stablecoins. People are not investing with these banks in their funds, but they're putting it into crypto. So Jamie Dimon doesn't like that, right? And these crypto companies can go unbank or bank the unbanked, bring financial inclusivity to a lot of people. Jamie Dimon doesn't like that. He's getting disrupted, but disruptive technology always wins. So don't be surprised this year that you see a lot of these companies get these licenses, and some are looking to do IPOs, of course. Circle, don't be surprised if you see BitGo do an IPO as well. So this is really bullish, guys. We're entering a new era for crypto, and with Operation Choke Point 2.0 ending, you are seeing an incredible move towards getting all types of bank licenses and infrastructure being set up. It's pretty amazing. Guys, before we continue, be sure to check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy crypto. Propy, this company is leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. I'm a Propy token holder. Trezor, great hardware wallet maker. They were the first to create hardware wallets, beautifully designed and easy to use. I use the Trezor Safe 5. VeChain, top layer 1 enterprise blockchain. I'm a VET token holder, so check out those sponsors. Links will be in the description. Also, be sure to sign up for our free email newsletter. It's 100% free. Check out my book on Amazon and our course at mycryptocourse.com. So guys, huge news for the industry, and we're going to see incredible stuff. I think as the bull market picks up and we get that momentum again, you're going to start to see companies starting to do IPOs. I think that's going to be a sign of the top as well. So we'll have to watch that, right? Because bull markets don't go up forever. Likewise, bear markets don't last forever, but you want to make sure you are taking your profits, guys. So make sure you have a profit-taking plan, regardless if you hold Bitcoin, XRP, whatever you're holding, you got to have some sort of plan, guys. And by the way, we were talking about Bitcoin back above, trying to get above the 200-day moving average. XRP showing a lot of strength. It bounced after going below, and now it's clearly above it. So good sign there. Very, very good sign. Now, we got Michael Saylor buying more Bitcoin. If you guys recall, he had slowed down when the tariff stuff happened. Now he's buying again. An indication, once again, of these whales recognizing that there's higher prices to come. So they bought another 6,556 Bitcoin for approximately $555.8 million at around an average price of $84,785. This is pretty crazy. They now hold over 538,000 Bitcoin. Man, incredible stuff. Now, South Korea's central bank vows to actively participate in stablecoin legislation development. So we are seeing globally, central banks are getting involved with crypto, development of stablecoins. Just the other day, Jerome Powell of the Fed, he said, look, we need crypto legislation, and stablecoin legislation would be a very good thing. Of course, because it will be a US dollar version of, you know what I mean, tokenized on the blockchain, and these stablecoin issuers are going to be buying the treasuries. So it's a win-win for the United States. The Fed, of course, is going to love this. So, guys, globally, we are seeing a move towards setting up infrastructure for stablecoins and crypto, regulating it, not banning it, embracing it, and allowing crypto companies to flourish. So it's incredible, what's happening, and the governments are going to be involved here. Now, look at this. A GSR helps consumer product firm consumer product firm Upexi create a sole treasury with $100 million private investment. This is, I think, the second company that is investing in Solana and putting it on the treasury. This is huge adoption for Solana. We've primarily seen this type of treasury strategy being used with Bitcoin. Some companies have added a little bit of Ethereum, but there's been an influx of folks doing this with Solana. So expect other crypto assets to be used as treasury reserve assets as well, guys, because, I've often said, as Paul Tudor Jones said, crypto is the fastest horse in the race, and nothing moves like crypto. So these companies recognize that, and they can get a greater return by putting their cash reserves in crypto. So really, really great stuff here. I know some people are going to be like, Solana sucks and so forth, but look, this is the free market, and folks are putting their money where they want. And you could see this happen for XRP as well, Ethereum. Primarily, though, overall, we've seen this happen with Bitcoin. So good news overall for crypto adoption, though. So Steady Bull says, what is your exit strategy in this bull run? So Steady Bull, I have a spreadsheet where I have my price points that I'm going to be taking profits at. So you may say, well, Tony, how did you come to those price points? Well, I use like a Fibonacci model. And while it's not 100% guaranteed because we don't have a crystal ball, we can look at levels that were hit in past bull markets. So as soon as Bitcoin starts hitting somewhere near the 2.618, which is around the $150,000 zone, definitely taking profits. It's possible it can go higher like it did in previous bull market to the 3.618. You see in 2021, it did that. In 2017, it went way above a lot of these moving averages. So I'm using that as an indicator. Also, I'm using signals that have shown the top is near. So let's say the top comes in at 130,000 for Bitcoin, right? Because I'm using multiple factors and signals to say, okay, how close are we to the top? I need to start exiting. And then in my spreadsheet, I'm laddering out. So I'm not cashing out all at the same time. I'm taking profits slowly off the table. And then if I see signals are flashing that, hey, the top is definitely in, I start taking profits. Now, my initial profit taking will be on Bitcoin because Bitcoin moves and then the altcoins move, right? So I'm going to be tracking altcoin prices. And this is why I'm sharing the data with you guys, because if I see whales start dumping, I know, once again, multiple data points are telling me the top is in. But as we make our way up, I'm going to be taking profits off the table for Bitcoin. And then as the final alt season starts, and you see ETH and XRP and Cardano and Solana all start moving, I start taking my profits. So once again, using the Fibonacci model, like I can start laddering out at $5 for XRP, then 6, 7, and so on and so forth. But these are just levels I'm looking at. I need to balance that out with all these other signals I've been telling you guys about, what whales are doing, these macro top indicators. So that's how I'm approaching it. And of course, I'm sharing the data with you guys in my newsletter on the podcast here. So I will be telling you guys, by the way, hey, I am taking profits. I think the top is in. I will be telling you guys when I'm doing that. I won't tell you how much I sold and all that, because that's, private, and you shouldn't be telling anyone about that, how much coins you have or how much money you're making. Be careful with that. It puts a target on your back. But I'll be telling you guys, hey, I'm taking a profit. I see a top signal here, or no one can call the exact top, but we're in a top zone. So think of it as a zone, and you want to be exiting the market. What's that? SpaceX liftoff? Thanks, Steve. Great to have you from the UK. Crypto Rafi says, do you think blow off top this year or 2026? I still think this year. However, here's, and I know some people want a definitive answer, but one of the things about looking at the markets is if there are monkey wrenches thrown in the system like tariffs, that could extend the timeline. So if things don't start picking up soon and we start to see, like, for example, new highs in May or late May, I'm going to say, okay, this thing looks like it's extending out. And we may really get a rally later this year, and it may roll into 2026. So we saw something similar in 2017 where certain altcoins like XRP really shot up in early January 2018. But Bitcoin did its blow off top in December 2017. So that's where we have to watch and see. I can't give a definitive answer, but as of right now, I am thinking that we are still going to see something blow off top either late Q2 or Q4. And we won't know until we get closer, because if we're going by the signals, right, and these indicators, if things pick up really strong and they start going nuts, then we need to adjust our thesis accordingly and our exit strategy accordingly. So I hope you understand what I'm saying there. It's a lot of it is wait and see and use the data to tell us, okay, whoa, we're very close to the top, or we still got time. Thanks, Fred. Great to have you from Glasgow, Scotland. Andy says because of tariff gate delaying everything. Yeah, Andy, I wouldn't disagree with you, because that is a strong scenario. There's a strong probability of that happening. So this is where we have to be open-minded to multiple scenarios. Sometimes people just want the definitive binary outcome, right, or answer. But when you're investing, we have to look at these different data points. So these are things I'm looking at on a daily, weekly, monthly standpoint to tell me, okay, how close are we to the end goal here? Or are things being drawn out a bit more, as Andy's highlighting that there's a delay with this tariff craziness, right? So something to think about. I find it hard to see XRP going to a bear as utility week. I want to make sure that you be careful with the utility narrative. I see a lot of people peddling utility. There is some value to utility, so don't get me wrong, but don't let that become this massive narrative that it makes you forget market fundamentals. If someone is telling you that, oh my God, once this company starts using it, then there was never going to be a bear market, that is a lie, because markets are correlated to global liquidity, and no asset goes up in a straight line and stays up forever. We've seen this with Amazon. We've seen this with Google. We've seen it with this. I mean, just look at what we're experiencing here, right? Just look at what with the stock market itself. So be careful. The utility narrative is a valid one. It should not overrule market principles and fundamentals, because bear markets do happen. Bull markets don't go up forever. And that is time tested. That is historic. Go back and look at these charts. Go to TradingView. Go look at different stocks, whatever you want to look at. The S&P 500, nothing goes up in a straight line. I believe XRP is going to go higher, but I believe a bear market's coming, and XRP its value will go down along with all the other assets, the risk assets. Matt Osti says Telcoin Bank launches soon. Yeah, I've heard about the Telcoin bank. Bingo. Afternoon, Tony from Turkey. Welcome in, Bingo. Catherine Morris, great to have you. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Happy to share some knowledge and some value to help you guys. Um, as always, have a macro view. Don't be emotional about markets. If you're emotional, you've already lost, because the markets will play with your emotions. It'll have you like a roller coaster. But learn patience and control your emotions. That doesn't mean you don't feel, you know, a bit scared. I still feel those emotions, but I put them in check and I go to the data and say, okay, what's actually happening here? And one thing I've learned, markets don't go down forever and they don't go up forever. So once you keep these principles in the back of your mind, it helps you. News-based cycle avoid technical analysis. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But I'll just share some thoughts. Technical analysis is not 100% foolproof, right? It's a bit of an art and a science, but it's better than using your gut and emotions and reading sensationalized headlines. I will take the charts over sensationalized headlines anytime. For example, the charts couldn't predict that tariffs were going to happen or a black swan event, right? So we can't predict. It doesn't tell you everything, but it gives you an indication of, hey, are we in a bull or bear market? Are we seeing some signs of strength, which is what I've been sharing with you guys? How are we looking? And you put that in conjunction with different signals like on-chain data, indicators that have flagged the top before, and it helps to paint a picture. That's why I'm giving you multiple data sources and not just the charts. I'm showing you on-chain data, right? Because we want to be balanced. We don't want to be only chart guys. Oh my God, the charts. No. What does the on-chain data tell you? What do the indicators that have shown the top in the past show you? What are whales doing? What's the dollar doing? What is global liquidity doing? You put all this together, it gives you a much clearer understanding of where things are at and where they may be going. Joyce Downs, welcome in. OJM89 says, hey, Tony, if we don't see any price action by the end of May, will you be worried? I wouldn't say I'll be worried. I would be concerned that something is being broken and reshifted, and it can, there can be outliers. Like, I think the tariff situation can cause things to happen that have not happened historically, because it's such a massive issue. It's a global issue. So it puts uncertainty globally. And when people are so focused on something that could affect their daily lives with price of goods and services, and then you throw in politics and all these things, and the economy here in the United States teetering on a recession, they're not so much going to think about investing. So it does put this level of uncertainty in the markets. However, when in doubt, zoom out. Did the world end in March 2020? Did the world end in 2008? Did the world end when the dot-com bubble burst? No. Markets bottom and then they recovered. We've seen this time and time again. Whatever the story, whatever the narrative, whatever the catalyst. So I won't be panicking like, oh my God, I need to get out the market. No, I am holding long term. My portfolio is up because I've been investing in these assets in the bear market. So they're still up despite the market down in the short term, if that makes sense. Now, if you bought the top of markets like last cycle and so forth, then I understand some of you may be like, man, this really sucks. But this is why I'm trying to highlight on this podcast, you do the opposite of the herd and you buy the blood and fear and you sell the greed and the euphoria. Heinrich says, hi, Tony. I see this negative sentiment on XRP top accounts, even though the strength it has shown these. Well, Heinrich, you got to make sure you filter out who you're watching and listening to, because some people are moving by emotions, which is what we want to avoid here, right? That moving by emotions, investing with emotions to get you wrecked. There are some people who don't understand market cycles. They don't understand the macro. And that's what I'm trying to share here. That's why I said XRP back above the 200-day moving average. That's a sign of strength. It has not crashed down to its bear market bottom, right? It is showing a sign of strength. And
amongst all the altcoins, doing really well, and even leading Bitcoin here, because Bitcoin is trying to break above the 200-day moving average, which is, of course, a clear sign that we are in a bull market. When we are below it, we are in a bear market. You go look at the charts, simple pattern recognition will tell you that. So XRP still looking very good here, and that's not because I'm biased or I want it to be that way. The chart, the data is telling me that. Pedro M says, since you talked about XRP, does it have any? I am happy on them. Mostly EB. Well, yes, it does. But you have to. This is why I get kind of annoyed, because not a you, Pedro. Some XRP channels, they tell people the wrong thing. Okay, think of XRP as a layer 1, like Ethereum. Is ETH used in every single aspect of transactions, ETH the token? No. But there are people building on Ethereum. It has a ton of adoption. You have enterprise adoption, and that drives higher value for the blockchain and its native token. So this is called Metcalfe's law. And if you research that, Pedro, research Metcalfe's law. The token itself doesn't have to be used in every single transaction for utility. If there are people tokenizing on the XRP ledger and building on it, that'll is good enough to drive value. And so check it out. I'm going to put a link here, Metcalfe's law, so you guys can. Let me make sure I'm going to Google this just to make sure I spell it right for you guys. Metcalfe's law. Okay, here we go. So check. Oh no. Google is. What in the world? Oh yeah. It put the whole Google search string in there. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, let's delete that. Okay. Metcalfe's law. So check that out, Pedro. The XRP ledger has been getting adoption. RLUSD is built on the XRP ledger, so the transaction value, the usage will help the XRP ledger value and its native token. So think of Circle's USDC or BlackRock's BITL token is launched on Ethereum, right? They don't use Ethereum for their transactions. They use their respective coin, but that helps the Ethereum network value and the native token, if that makes sense. Man, Suryash, stop spamming, bro. Okay, let's see here. Fire to Come says, is it on this platform? Yeah, I'll be mentioning it on my podcast, so make sure you're subscribed. I will be in the daily news recaps. I'll mention, hey guys, I'm taking profits on the market, and even on these live streams. So I will definitely be saying, what I'm doing. Freedom 55 says, what do you think about Flare? So I'm a Flare token holder, and I'm bullish on it. I'm hoping it does well this, bull market. It showed some signs of strength in December. Wait, is this the right chart? Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. Well, that's weird. Okay, let's see here. Why did it do that? Okay, here we go. I don't know why it gave me the other chart. Okay, so it showed some really good signs of strength in Q4, but as with all altcoins, it took a big hit with the tariff sell-off. But I think, honestly, it could get to maybe 12 to 15 cents. We'll see. It just depends on how much utility they're able to get, and how many people are going to use the network for DeFi and staking and things like that. But I'm bullish on it. I continue to delegate my tokens. I have not taken profits on anything yet. I'm delegating, earning my rewards, but there will come a point I'll be unlocking and selling and taking profits. So Santino, I mentioned that earlier. Let's see. I want to make sure we could see like a $8 to $10 XRP possible, and I give that range because I don't know what the exact top is going to be. Maybe it just tops out at $7 or $8. It could be that range, but that's where I'm going to be taking profits at anything at $5 or higher. I'm taking profits off the table, not selling all, slowly, taking them off the table. So Black and White, I don't believe in the ISO narrative. I don't know. There's a lot of XRP channels that peddle that. I don't believe in that, honestly. Michael Carter, great to have you. HBAR. So I have HBAR in my portfolio. I'm very bullish on this coin. I think it can do really well this cycle. There's a ETF for HBAR. They're getting a lot of adoption. So I'm personally looking to start taking profits on $1 or above. Could we get to $1.50? Possibly even higher, but we'll have to wait and see. HBAR did show a lot of strength in Q4, right? A very good sign. And even into in January 2025. And but has pulled back just like everything else, but still looking very strong. And it's not far from its old all-time high. So very good sign here. Andrew Moreno says, good morning, Tony. What would be the significance of Ripple and XRP working with Cardano? Well, it's to be seen. There's been talks of possibly having the RLUSD stablecoin pushed to the Cardano blockchain. That helps with RLUSD adoption. I don't know what else they have going on, so we'll have to get the details to see. But I think collaboration opens up more liquidity, more users to cross-pollinate, so to speak, on these different chains. So I think it's overall good. We'll have to wait for the details. Guys, smash that thumbs up button, hit the heart button wherever you're watching, listening. Once again, check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy and stake crypto. Proppy, putting real estate on chain. I am a Proppy token holder. Trezor, great hardware wallet to keep your crypto safe. VeChain, great enterprise layer 1 blockchain where a lot of companies, UFC, Dana White, all these guys are partnering with VeChain to do great things. I'm a VET token holder. Be sure to subscribe to our free email newsletter. It's on Substack. And check out my book on Amazon and our new course at mycryptocourse.com. So check out all that, guys. Links will be in the description. Pedro, thanks for clarifying. Great explanation. Being worried about the token, especially when they mentioned they'd be using a mostly. Yeah, I mean, I know they wanted to primarily use XRP for some sort of payments, but at the end of the day, XRP, just look at XRP moving. I mean, just look what it did in Q4, right? That's with news of RLUSD, because overall the ecosystem is growing and RLUSD is built on the XRP ledger, in addition to Ethereum, but primarily the XRP ledger. Hell Sparrow, good afternoon. Welcome in. Ranter says, I'd take profits little by little as we go parabolic and trade for at least one BTC to keep. When we start seeing some dumps, I'll sell most of the rest of my altcoins and to take even more profits. Yeah, Ranter. So I think you probably may have heard me on the record say that there's some Bitcoin I'm never selling. And it's most likely going to go to my daughter, right, as her inheritance, because I believe there's such a scarcity aspect to Bitcoin, and you see countries looking to set up reserves. There's going to be a lot of demand for Bitcoin. as digital gold, and folks who understand currency and money, the way gold itself as a store of value works, will understand why it's important to have some Bitcoin. And look, the majority of my holdings are in altcoins, and I'll be taking profits on my altcoins, but there's some Bitcoin I'm never selling. ZK Snark says, I have millions of XRP. Please pray for me. Man, if you have millions of XRP, I don't think anybody should be praying for you, man. You're in a good position. Because if you have millions, let's say, right, and let's say you have 2 million XRP, you have over $2 million based on the current price. So I don't think anyone should be praying for you. Fred says, Tony, I'm confused as to why a lot of the Ripple XRP ledger / XRP and Swift talk has not pushed the price upstream. So Fred, where did you hear that? Because I haven't seen any confirmation on Swift saying they're going to use XRP ledger. So you got to make sure you weed out between the over speculation and over exaggeration by some folks. There are people who do a lot of that stuff for clickbait, right? But there's no factual data. There's no factual information. I didn't see a press release from Swift, oh, we're working with Ripple to do this and yada, yada. You know what I mean, Fred? So what is hearsay versus fact is very important. Crane says, do you think VeChain will pump? I'm hoping so, Crane. I think it will. What we saw in Q4, a lot of strength. That was good, right? It's off its bear market bottom. That's a good sign. And broken through the trend line from, the top, its last top, but took a massive hit with the tariff sell-off. So I like what I saw though with Q4, and I think it can definitely go higher. I'm hoping, it can go to 50 cents at least. That would be really good for me because I'm a vet token holder. But if it can go to higher 70 cents, that would be awesome. But we need to see strength here. So let's say it even just gets to 40 cents. I'll take that, right? Because I've been buying the bear market bottom and the lows. So that's personally my thoughts. And once again, I'm a token holder. So, but I want to keep it real. I don't want to tell you guys, things that are not, or that are outlandish or not on point. What price point do you plan to take profits on Flare? So I have all this in my spreadsheet, but of course I can't show that to you guys. But, using some of the Fibonacci levels, I'm going to start taking profits, I think, around like 6 cents or 7 cents, I should say, and laddering out because I just don't know how high it will go. I say that now because based on the data, all the gains that it made in Q4, it all got taken away. And I'm hoping it can get to 13 cents. That would be great, or higher. But, around 7, 8, I'll be laddering out, honestly. And once again, I'm not selling all. I'm just taking profits off the table. Benny says, good morning. Do you feel that 2026 may be a better year than 2025 in terms of growth, since there's so much potential going forward with government and institutional adoption? Well, Benny, remember that the adoption is one thing, but the macro is the overarching factor that affects all markets. So, and a clear example of that, Benny, right, is that the tariff situation wiped out all markets, stock market, crypto, everything. So notice how all narratives around ISO and this and that wiped out because a greater narrative came in. So the greater narratives is the monetary system, the Fed, right? So for example, if we go to Bitcoin's chart, just as an example, when Bitcoin topped out, what was the Fed doing? We are going to be raising rates and starting quantitative tightening, and that ushered in the bear market. So we can have adoption, but markets, remember, are driven by global liquidity and the macro factors. It doesn't matter how strong a narrative is in crypto or in the stock market, they can all be shifted there's the tectonic shift, right? That's happening with the macro from central banks can affect markets. So I believe there's going to be a bear market in 2026. Will that happen exactly at January 1st, 2026? No, I don't think it's going to happen exactly, because the bear market could even happen in November or December this year. It could start the catalyst, the ball rolling right down the hill. So just keep that in mind, that it's a process. It's not like a binary thing. All of a sudden it flips and boom, we go straight down. There's usually a process, and then you just go look at the charts. In 2021, November 2021, we start coming down, but we had these, pumps and then the ultimate drag down. So it's all cyclical. So regardless of adoption, markets are cyclical and very sentiment driven and liquidity driven. And right now, as I shared with you guys, the global liquidity, if I can find my chart here, is surging. But there were points when global liquidity was drying up and markets were drying up as well. Rusty Nuts. I don't know if that's for me, but I hope you're all right. Which crypto app is great to use for stock trading? I think Kraken is going to launch. Uphold. They have stocks, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But Kraken is going to add stocks. And look, Robinhood is also an option. I use Robinhood for a lot of my stocks, though. Fred says, no smoke without fire, though, pal. Yeah, well, Fred, again, that's speculating, right? So that's the thing. That's speculating until we see some clear indication. Then we can definitively say this is that. But again, like your initial question was, why wasn't XRP or whatever pumping? Well, there's no definitive stuff there, and what's the source of it, right? It's all speculation, and a lot of this stuff is started by YouTubers who just say all types of stuff about XRP, like, I mean, the craziest conspiracy theories and all that, and there's no substance behind it. So just be careful. Again, not saying you're wrong that this can eventually happen, but what's the foundation of your thesis? What are you basing this on, right? Did someone from Swift say something? Did someone from Ripple say, hey, we're talking to Swift to see how we can work together? Those would be strong indicators, because you're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth, and both companies are mentioning each other, if that makes sense. That QE gonna pump so hard. Yeah, well, global liquidity is rising, and I think once Jerome Powell and the Fed signaled, they're gonna print, which they're gonna have to. We know how the system works. They're gonna go back to it. So. Thanks, Fire to Come. I appreciate that. Yeah, and Fire to Come, just so you guys know, I've been transparent. I'm with all of you trying to make money. Like, I am not some multi-millionaire sitting in a mansion. I have a house. I'm a I guess if you want to call me middle class person. I have my family, and I'm invested in this thing. My portfolio is up very nice, so I'll say that. But I'm looking for higher gains and looking to get financial freedom and boost my retirement and, eliminate debt and all that, right? To have more financial freedom. So I'm with all you guys. I'm not here just for YouTube views or things like that. I'm literally here to make as much money off of this asset class and spread awareness about it and educate people. And that's why, I launched a course, and it features expert commentary. I launched my book as well. I have the newsletter. It's 100% free. You guys can subscribe. I put a ton of information in here, a lot of data, that a lot of stuff we cover here on the podcast, guys. So be sure to subscribe. And I try to bring you guys the quality interviews, with people who are building and investing, and even the politicians who are involved, guys. Tokens pump on Yeah, no, for sure, Fred. But again, it's the level of speculation. How is it? Very outlandish speculation, or is there speculation that seems to have legs or some legitimacy to it? You know what I mean? Like, for example, people may speculate, oh, this company is going to acquire this company, or they're going to partner with these folks, right? Versus, okay, this token's going to take over the world and change the entire banking system. How outlandish are you getting? And it's like a spectrum, right? It's a scale. So we got to be careful here. So using your Litecoin example, you're saying why didn't XRP pump on these Swift news? Well, maybe the people don't believe the speculation around Swift, right? So I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying speculation is you're not that you're incorrect about speculation. It's about the type of speculation. How outlandish is it, right? Because I could say, oh, aliens are going to come from another universe and buy all our Bitcoin. You would say I'm a effing idiot, right? Right. So we got to be careful to the levels of speculation. You know what I mean? Crypto Rafi says, I was not investing in something until I found crypto in 2018. Very glad I started investing and learned so much from you. Yeah, appreciate that, Crypto Rafi. And I had a similar journey. I was not financially educated about markets, even the stock market. I was not really invested in anything. Crypto was my college for financial education and investing. And I learned so much about the economy, the markets, the central banks, global liquidity. And it changed my view of the world. It changed my view on politics. I stopped falling for stupid political narratives and all the mudslinging with the parties, because I realized a lot of that is just downstream of economics. What the Fed is actually doing with the money, people feel the pain of that, but they don't know who to blame, so they blame politicians. And many times, as we are seeing, presidents come and go, politicians come and go, but the Fed and the money control is still under the control of the Fed. And the fiat system, they have to keep printing. And a lot of people on Wall Street and the rich understand these things. And that's why they buy up assets. That's why they follow the Fed versus political narratives, and they know how to game the system. And I'm so happy I learned that, because the people I've interviewed and the circles I've been able to enter to learn about these things, but I wouldn't have been able to without crypto. So it's been a journey for me. And I try to, you know what I mean, share that with people as much as possible. Yeah, I agree. The Vic, if I'm saying that right, yeah, there's like a buildup, right? There's fear sentiment, global liquidity surging. The Fed is about to cave, I believe, with rate cuts and money printing. They're going to have to. Congress has a bill to spend like $6 trillion. I said it before. Where's the money going to come from? There's a deficit, and the money's not going to fall out of the sky, right? They're going to have to print, just like all the world governments. And the tariff stuff is going to be priced in, and it's going to come to a resolution at some point, and then markets are going to surge. So I agree with you. There's like a setup here. And then you may say, well, we're speculating in it, but when you look at the data, with the dollar crashing and and the global liquidity pumping, and Bitcoin whales are accumulating, and Bitcoin showing some strength here, no invalidation of the bull market, and other signals that have flagged the top before are not flagging, all of these things bode well. And you have Congress looking to pass legislation. I just see a lot of positives here, despite the macro headwinds of the tariffs. Venus says Donald Pump versus Jerome Powell. I like that. So Fred, with regards to Ripple and the hidden row purchase, that's huge. Yeah, like that is positive news, but you have to put it in context of what's happening in the market. The sentiment is in the dumps. Tariffs are still the stronger narrative. So this goes back to, I was answering someone's question, if a bear market's going to return. Yes, because the larger narrative is macro. Doesn't matter what Ripple or XRP is doing. Doesn't matter what Bitcoin's doing, because the larger narrative overall, and that's going to affect all markets, is a tariff. So this is why you take your profits, guys. Learn from history, right? Learn from history. Go look at the stock market and even what has taken place in the crypto market. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. They're going to have to print. This is the status quo. And I keep telling people, once you understand that concept, guys, it will become your foundational knowledge as to why assets move. Assets are all driven by global liquidity. Now, when you get to the micro of a specific stock, like let's say NVIDIA or Amazon, whatever it is, right? Or a specific crypto, they may move on their own based on certain narratives. So for example, in this bull market, Bitcoin and XRP have been showing the most strength in the past year, right? I mean, just look at XRP compared to other altcoins. It is strong as hell. But even Bitcoin and XRP got hit by the tariff narrative because it's a bigger narrative, right? So you got to make sure your foundational knowledge for investment is based on the macro, global liquidity, the dollar currency index, right? What's happening overall. And as I said at the beginning, we're seeing positive signs. Gold is a leading indicator here. It is pumping like crazy, going parabolic if you look at this chart. And I think we're going to see a rotation of liquidity coming out of this. So, which will go into stocks and crypto. Yeah, no problem, Fred. And once again, I'm bullish on XRP, just like you, but just be careful where you're getting information from, and you keep it balanced, right? There are narratives, no problem. Utility, no problem. But how strong is that narrative? Don't let it overrule the macro, and which is what I'm trying to point you guys to. Don't let it overrule on-chain data, right? Because these things carry a stronger weight. And that's why Ripple's massive acquisition with the XRP ledger being used didn't do much, because the macro is suppressing all of the risk assets right now. But that won't be forever. And I believe we are starting to see the move upwards, the start of it. We need full confirmation, but the start of it, and then alts are going to follow Bitcoin. All right, guys. Once again, be sure to check out our sponsors: Uphold, Propy, Trezor, VeChain. All the links in the description. Check out our free newsletter, my book on Amazon, and our new course at mycryptocourse.com. Guys, thank you. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I'm going to have to wrap it up here. I actually have to head to the New York Stock Exchange. If you guys had seen my interview with Frank Holmes the other day, he's an in finance and investing legend. Check it out. He's doing a bit of a talk today because he had launched the Jets ETF. And I'm talking like actual airliners and jets, right? And I think it's like the 20th anniversary, I believe it is. So I'll be at the New York Stock Exchange and I'll get some footage for you guys. Guys, as always, I'm wishing you all the best of luck in this bull market, that you make incredible returns. And remember, have a plan. Don't move by emotions. You move by your emotions, you're going to get wrecked. Have a plan, control your emotions, and be patient, right? This is not gambling at the casino. This is not playing the lottery. You have to put some work in here. You got to keep learning and improving your knowledge. It's going to help. And we're seeing some positive signs, guys. That's the main takeaway from this live stream. We're seeing some positive signs, some signs of life, some signs of strength, and hoping this continues. All right, folks, I'll talk to you all later. Take care, and catch you in the next one.